Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
You're listening to Bernstein and Holmes. Middays 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 670 The Score. In Odyssey.
I'm going to try to look at this season very clinically and see if we can find out if Pedro Defoe can manage. See? I'm going to try and find out if Chris Getz knows what he's doing. I've talked to some people that have felt that he is someone that would have been on the list to be a general manager, but not for another 3 or 4 years.
That was last night at the Sox Machine 108 event right down the street at the Ramova Theater, which, if you haven't been there, that place is really awesome. And I didn't know that there was like a brewery and like they do brunch and stuff. And yeah, it was right down the street. It was cool to see the Sox Machine and the 108 guys like on the marquee of it. Like it made it feel very, very big. So you're in a room with 200 Sox fans on opening day and talking with them about kind of where the White Sox. Oh, I met James Fegan's mom.
Oh, the famous doctor.
And his sister.
The famous artist.
Yeah, and then James and I commiserated on how we both have really cool jobs and we're the least cool people in our family.
You both have siblings who are accomplished artists.
Yes, we both have parents that are more accomplished than we are too. So we commiserated over that a little bit, and it was great to be around Sox fans. And it's just, I think that Sox fans want to be around each other. I'm not sure they want to be around the
White Sox.
Yeah,
right.
Like that was kind of what I got. Like everyone was really and I was joking about like the concept of like family reunion when it comes to opening day and everyone getting back together and your tailgates and all of that stuff. But when 7-Eleven hits and the White Sox start playing baseball, I don't know how good it's going to feel, and that's the issue.
I feel like you just nailed it. They do like to be around each other even when the team is not good, and that's not the case everywhere. I've always appreciated that about being here. What I knew you had to. Word on the street is, I may or may not have talked to Pete already, but word on the street was you had to apologize to James's mom for speaking freely.
Yeah, I cussed in front of James's mom. I felt really bad about it.
Is that true, guys? Wally Bob, can you account for that?
Yeah.
108 is already represented.
I said a 12-letter word in front of James's mom.
All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I felt
multiple.
Multiple? Not multiple 12 letters. No,
Okay,
there was one 12-letter word, and I felt really bad. But she kind of laughed it off.
What?
I think she was thinking the same thing I was.
What led you to that word?
Me talking about a particular person at the White Sox.
I don't like our team.
No, not him, strangely enough. I don't have a lot of malice towards him yet, but I do.
Doubt, yes. Malice, no.
Yeah, but
That's fair. That's fair.
I do have some malice towards the manager because I feel like he sold White Sox fans a bill of goods going into spring training last year and then kind of turned into something else, and I don't know if he's just trying to ingratiate himself.
He's a kiss ass. He that's all he is just a blithering kiss ass at this point.
That's one of, unfortunately, the lasting impressions for me last season was thinking about how at the beginning of the year, how thrilled everybody was to have him. You remember that? Like, we talked about Rick Hahn's demeanor walking into the press conference, and everybody finally got their manager. Well, he talked a big game and said the things that we all saw. You know, he observed from the Royals bench what we all saw last season.
We're going to kick your ass at 7 o'clock.
But it was one of the most talented teams in baseball who underperformed. I just didn't think that would continue with him the way it did.
And then immediately we saw some of the stuff that he was trying to enact, like not be enacted and there be no consequences. You know, we saw guys still not be able to hit the cutoff man or understand how to take the extra base. We saw guys not running hard to first base, and they continue the tradition of guys being allowed to not run to first base hard. And we all understand the reasons why that's the case, but it's hard to kind of build a winning culture. Then when asked about said culture, Grifol said that the culture was great until we got to the end of the season, and then he said his clubhouse sucked. Like, it's that type of duplicity that I can't respect. Like, I'm okay with you saying that your culture is a work in progress and that you're still trying to figure it out, but don't lie. Don't lie and say, well, everything's great. Like, our culture is great here. We're building a great culture. And then you have our players go on podcast for an hour to talk about how he doesn't feel connected to the rest of the team, how his life off the field is spinning out of control, and that he felt like there wasn't anyone in the clubhouse that he could talk to. That doesn't seem like a great culture to me.
Well, we remember when that same player was named to an all-star team, and it felt like a funeral.
Yeah.
Well, and then we found out why. But additionally, you had the most consistent player in baseball for years go to another team and tell you it didn't feel like a family. And people pushed back on us even talking about it at the time.
They sure did.
And that was the most diplomatic way anybody said it. You heard Jake Berger, once he got traded to Miami, say he hadn't had that much fun playing baseball in his career. Miami.
I'm so glad that you brought up the Abreu thing, because I thought it was sad. That's not the word I want to use. I want to use another one of those words I'd be embarrassed to say in front of James Fegan's mom. But it was sad the way that White Sox fans would turn their back on Jose Abreu
instead of listening to him
and saying he was bitter. You know, this was your last MVP, and people were acting like he didn't know what he was talking about when it came to the culture inside the clubhouse and inside the organization. And it turns out he was 100% right. And that upset me, because I don't know who else, if you're not going to listen to the guy who was the captain of the team about what was wrong with the White Sox, then who are you willing to listen to try and understand what they are and what they're not? So it was just, I will say, like, the Sox Machine guys, the 108 guys, they put on a great event. I hope that they keep doing cool stuff like that where White Sox fans can commiserate. And it's cool that between Ramova and Wings and Rings, we got a bunch of cool places around the ballpark to go. And, like, isn't that amazing? They're like, I don't know, within walking distance of the ballpark, you could come to really cool places inside of Bridgeport and have a good time and feel safe and not have to run to the South Loop for those good times.
Sox Machine.
Josh Nelson, co-host of the Sox Machine podcast.
Rick Hahn's work is not done.
The internet's longest-running White Sox podcast.
If Tim Anderson twists a knee or Tim Anderson's got to go on the injury list, sure, you could move Elvis Andrus over to shortstop. But when Anderson and Andrus are even in the lineup right now, guys, the White Sox have the worst middle infield production-wise in all of Major League Baseball.
SoxMachine.com.
We're all White Sox fans here. I know this is the home of the Chicago Cubs. We're all rooting for this team to make it to the World Series. There's going to be some highs and there's going to be some lows, and it's all about trying to find that middle ground.
Josh Nelson with Bernstein and Holmes on 670 The Score.
We want Machine.
Sox Machine.
He is here. He is sporting branded stuff, and he is ready to begin another season as a contributor to the Bernstein and Holmes show. Leila Rahimi is here. That is Josh Nelson.
Yeah, Josh Nelson deserves applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. His people are here. He's brought his own audience to play field
did.
Yeah, you draw a nice crowd, Josh.
Hey, that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to work the game in Bridgeport. Ray, I got to get you new sound clips, man, because Rick Hahn's work is done.
Indeed it is. That's what this bit, like, this is why we invited you on. We just need new sound for the open.
Great. Excellent. Great idea.
That's how it works.
So Rick Hahn's work is done. We've established this.
Yeah, his work is done. Now it's Chris Getz's time.
2024, on to a new season.
Yes.
How are you feeling about all of this?
Going into this season, like, there's so many questions, and Chris Getz is doing the best that he can right now, media-wise, to stick to the talking points. But I worry about him come Memorial Day weekend, where things look really dire, and he just looks at the whiteboard and, we got 100 more games left to go. Like, how am I going to get through this season? Because clearly the White Sox are trying to get through this season as quickly as possible. There is a lot of transition. We are counting 15 new faces on this opening day roster for the Chicago White Sox. We could see as many as 50 different players this year for the White Sox appear in a game in this Major League season. So when you have this much roster churn and there's so much uncertainty, he's keeping an eye on the future, which is great, but you still got to play 162 games, and I think that's going to be the struggle this new front office is just going through the daily grind.
I think we're also still trying to figure out what the mission statements are. It can't just be Mully, I think, unfortunately, might have nailed it when he said he seems to certainly be drawn to players who remind him of him. And you don't want that to be the case. We talked about 2017 dictating the previous regime's roster preferences. I'm still trying to figure out for him what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think a lot of that responsibility is being handed off to Brian Bannister and Josh Barfield to set up a new player development system, a new player pipeline, to identify a different type of player the White Sox may have not gone after with Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams in the past. What that kind of player is, I don't think we're going to know, Leila, into the Major League Baseball draft in July, because that's going to be the next opportunity that they could really add to the pipeline. No one's going to pay the price for Luis Robert. We're not going to see trades by the White Sox until end of July, because I just don't think there's going to be a ton of interest from other Major League Baseball teams in what they currently have on the roster. So the next time they add will be the draft. And boy, if you talk to anyone that covers the MLB draft, after Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn were fired, there is so much gossip on what happened in the Major League, in the draft war room for the Chicago White Sox, that it totally makes sense that they have not had a lot of draft success. So that's where I'm going to be paying attention to, is what kind of players that they're going to be going after in the future.
Wait, can you expand on that?
Like arguments on draft day, the draft pick is coming up, and the White Sox still have not decided unanimously who the next guy is.
It was probably a mistake by ownership to even have Rick still in power at that point to allow for him to run the draft.
Agreed. Yeah. And or Kenny Williams waking up the day of and deciding, no, we're going to go this way.
Wow.
And yeah, that's kind of the part of the problem for the White Sox. It's like, hey, where are their first-round draft picks? Well, it's 0-war Andrew Vaughn at first base. Nick Madrigal is no longer with the organization. Garrett Crochet is going to start on opening day, and then fingers crossed that Colson Montgomery and Noah Schultz become something.
Josh, this is going to sound like a glib or trick question, and I don't mean it that way. Do the White Sox have a starting staff as we understand a starting staff to be?
No, and I'm glad you bring this up. I think with Garrett Crochet today, he's obviously what everyone's watching today on opening day to see how he progresses in his first Major League start. I think it's going to go one of two ways, Dan. It could be really encouraging if he goes 4 innings, maybe allows just 1 run. The fastball looks great. He's getting some strikeouts with the slider. And he sells White Sox fans and even the White Sox themselves that, yeah, let's give him another start. Or it could be embarrassing, where he gets knocked out in the 2nd inning, and then all the other MLB broadcasts at night do their out-of-town scoreboard, and they'll say, hey, did you see what the White Sox did today? They had an opener. They started an opener on opening day. They don't have enough starting pitchers to actually start a starting pitcher on opening day. What kind of team are the White Sox fielding on the south side? Well, I'll tell you what, let's circle the White Sox in our calendar. That's going to be a good series for us. And that's where it goes back to Chris Getz and just the daily grind of, I don't want to be embarrassing. This is my first full year as a general manager. I don't want other teams to be pumped up to play against us. That's the opposite of what we want. So, again, it goes back to...
The answer sounds like no.
No, they don't. Flexen, I don't know, man. Fedde, we'll see. I mean, encouraging from Korea. Nick Destrini, he's going to be a rookie. Crochet, I think Bruce is always going to ask him if he's actually an opener for the entire season. And then it's going to be a revolving door of starters. We could see more than 12 starting pitchers this year, Dan.
12.
I'd take the over.
I'm with you. They had 11 last year.
In the next
that made
6
starts.
months, I would take the over on that.
And we do these Sporkle quizzes on Sox Machine.
Oh,
I am not looking forward to the end of the season. Name every single player that played for the White Sox this season. poor James Vegan's like, I cover this team daily, and I can't ace it. I can't get 100%. I always forget someone that actually played on the team.
Enough. What did you two talk about last night?
Me and Lawrence?
Yep.
He tossed a bunch of hats into the crowd. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I forgot my hats to give away here, but it was nice to be with all of the 108 people, the Sox Machine people, all of the fans. Man, you threw a hell of an event.
Thank you, and I appreciate the kind words earlier in the show from you guys. The White Sox are not going to be very good this year, but what we keep saying, especially with our friends from the 108, when we do these type of fan community events, misery loves company, and we aim to be good company. So even if we're watching bad baseball, we're going to try to make the most fun out of it. So that way we're not like, we all have our daily lives, we have all our daily stresses. But to be able to watch baseball and have fun no matter how good or poor the quality is on the field is the goal this year.
And members of bad company.
I think that's an accurate assessment. Yeah, Lauren said that at the top of the show. The fans like being together, especially the Sox crew. I feel like that's very much the case. And it is nice to have events like that where people can lecture kind of and speak freely and just have panels and speak.
Yes, drop 12-letter words in front of Dr. Fegan.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Wow.
Fans venting to me. But I didn't bring a note card for you, Dan. I did not bring a piece of paper filled with stats. But runs are going to be a premium today for the Chicago White Sox. The entire lineup combined has a 528 OPS against Tarek Schoolball.
Oh!
So Tarek Schoolball has been throwing harder this spring training. Actually, every Detroit Tigers starting pitcher.
528 OPS.
528 OPS.
And he's their dude. Like, he's been highlighted in MLB's, top pitchers to watch and whatnot.
Yeah, the second half, he was one of the most valuable starting pitchers in all of Major League Baseball when you look at terms of wins above replacement. He's been throwing harder. Kenta Maeda has been throwing harder. Jack Flaherty has been throwing harder. So from when you're watching these games, pay attention to the Tigers pitchers because Tigers pitching coach Chris Fetter, for some reason, I don't know how he's done it. It's been very secretive from their spring training camp. All of their pitchers are throwing harder. So if the White Sox are relying on old scouting reports for pitchers they have seen, especially Maeda and Flaherty this weekend, they're going to be surprised at the type of velocity that's coming at them. And I'm going to be really curious on how the Tigers have done it because maybe this is such a copy and paste type of professional sports league. Maybe that's something the White Sox can do with the pitchers that they have.
I haven't looked at the lineup yet. Let's see if it's even out.
It is out.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So you got Benintendi leading off. You got Makata batting second. You have Robert batting third.
Well, I was interested to see who was in the lineup for the Tigers.
I have not seen the Tigers lineup yet.
Because I have some thoughts on things like, don't throw a fastball to Javi Baez.
Yeah, when it comes to Javi Baez and playing in the South Side, man, he steps up his game.
Yes, he does.
And he's like that wrestling heel. The more you boo him, it just fuels him.
Yep.
It's like those superheroes that are powered by the sun. He just becomes an unstoppable force when White Sox fans boo him. And then he'll go to Kansas City and go like 0 for 12 with 9 strikeouts. It's like, where was that guy?
We found it.
He is in the lineup
Tigers.
today, batting 7th.
Yeah, it's Andy Ibanez at third, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, Mark Canha, Matt Vierling, Colt Keith, Jake Rogers, Javi Baez, Parker Meadows, and then, yes, the aforementioned Tariq Skubal.
How old is Mark Canha?
He's up there.
Keith.
He's up there.
Is he 36 maybe? 37?
Mid-30s. Younger than me. I am now older than every player on the Chicago White Sox.
35.
How is Colt Keith not a country DJ?
Right. Colt Keith is like a 6'4", 6'5" second baseman. So when I spoke to Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic, he is the rookie for the Tigers that they circled and they signed to a contract extension. They don't really think he's a second baseman, so they're sticking him there for now. He may have to move into the corners or into the outfield, but they're really impressed with the hit tool. But he's a huge second baseman. He will stick out today.
I think that it's important with it being opening day that we remind people What is James Fegan doing for Sox Machine?
James Fegan is our beat reporter, so he'll be at every single home game this year covering for Sox Machine. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/Sox Machine. We will be sending James to Kansas City and Minneapolis in the month of April. We will be sending him to St. Louis and Milwaukee for those road series as well. The more support that we get, the more that we can send James out on the road. But he will definitely be at every home game.
That's outstanding. We love James, and Patreon it really is a great tool for people who, have, I think, independent media,
This was like our Manny Machado moment because behind the scenes...
Parkins walking around with a bed sheet?
Jim was. Oh. So Jim Margulis approached me. He's like, I got this idea 7 months ago. I'm going to text James. I'm like, James just got laid off, Jim. Let's give it a moment.
Give him a couple days.
And it took 7 minutes of flirtation, but here I am on my honeymoon in Australia, and Jim texts me, we may be landing James. And I'm like, well, I'm in charge of our entire business operation. So, yes, Jim, on my honeymoon, let me sneak away from my wife and redo everything that we do to make this work. And we were able to do it in a couple of days. We keep getting asking, why did you add James? This team is terrible. You never know when this team is going to be good. And we want to put into a position where we can provide more access, more coverage of the Chicago White Sox.
Good reporting doesn't care about the quality of the team. And I do think the cool thing is that you have cultivated a readership, a viewership, a community that just wants real coverage.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yes. And we had Media Day last Thursday. The charm offense is definitely on for the Chicago White Sox.
Better at the ballpark, Josh.
Better at the ballpark. Translation, please cover us. So I'm ecstatic. James is ecstatic. He's been very happy so far. He's excited to continue the type of coverage that he's done in the past for The Athletic, and now it's just going to be on SoxMachine.com.
We're very excited about it, and it's great to get to talk to you guys again.
Absolutely. We are so thrilled to be here, and I like this annual tradition of just finding you guys at random Bridgeport bars. So we did Cork and Kerry last year. Poor Dan, last year, Cork and Kerry.
I was just talking about it.
I love you, Cork and Kerry, but poor Dan, you put Baby in the corner. He looked so claustrophobic last year.
It wasn't that. They towed
his car.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No
They
way.
gave me the pass. Bill Guidi gave me the pass to put on my dashboard.
And they still took it.
And they still towed my car
east.
They moved your car.
They moved his car east of the Ryan.
Relocated my car to the IIT.
And no one
At
knew
least
where
they
it was.
left it. They didn't take it to a tow yard. That's
No.
my favorite part of the story is
Just
the
right on
fact
the
that
street.
they just moved it.
They told me exactly where it was, and it was just sitting on the street.
Guys, that's the wildest thing I've ever heard. I had no idea that was a concept that existed.
You got to be careful of those Bridgeport babies. I mean, you guys talked a
Toddlers,
little
yeah.
smack about
Toddlers.
them, the Bridgeport toddlers, and they made a phone call, be like, oh, that Dan Bernstein.
Get him.
The toddlers are vengeful.
I see them. They walk around packs
I
around
know.
Donovan Park, so I see them. I don't cross paths with them.
Don't make eye contact.
Josh, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Happy opening day.
Thanks, Josh.
That's Josh Nelson.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.